Hello fellow hunters, this is Arizmendi bringing you another Monster Hunter World Guide. While I was helping a friend into high rank, I realized the game doesn't do a good job of explaining what all the items that get thrown at you are, or how to properly use them. To help out, today I'll go over the most useful items you can bring with you on a hunt, and the situations in which they can be applied. This should provide the information you need to decide on the proper item loadout for you, and help make your hunts even better. Let's begin. Alright, so I want to start out with the energy drink. The item description says boosts stamina and helps shake off sleep, which sounds great, but what does it mean in practice? So energy drinks give you 25 stamina, the same as a ration. Here's a ration. And here's the energy drink. So the difference is that energy drinks are the only item you can use while falling asleep. So let me show you what I mean. If I kick this sleep frog, you'll notice that all of my items immediately get locked out except the energy drink. I can't use anything. Okay, now I'm going to kick a second frog. And if I gulp down the energy drink while I'm still falling asleep, then that prevents the sleep effect. And I'm good to go. This is mostly useful against monsters that can put you to sleep, namely Uragon and Radobon. If you bring these along against them, you'll have the ability to negate their AoE sleep gases. Next, I'm going to cover the 3 pods you use with your slinger, starting with Flashpods. Flashpods are able to knock an airborne monster out of the air by stunning it. They work against any airborne monster, but they're notably useful against Rathalos since he likes to fly so much. I'll demonstrate here against Legiana. So once it's flying, I fire, boom, and get both a knockdown and dizzy effect. The monster won't take to the air again until the dizzy effect wears off, so you get a lot of time to put in some damage. The only trick to this is that the flash has to go off in front of the monster, otherwise you get nothing. You don't have to fire into the ground like I did, but it can help ensure the flash goes off faster, and that works on any terrain. Flashpods will also stop a monster that is retreating, so you can use them to force a fight to continue. I usually bring along 3 of these, plus 10 flashbugs to make more. They're that important. Some people just bring along flashbugs and craft as needed. You can pick whichever works best for you. Okay, next up is Dungpods. If you're having a real bad time in a fight, or another monster has shown up and you don't want a 2-on-1, then these are your best friend. Dungpods will force a monster hit by them to leave the area immediately after finishing its current action. So notice the brown dust on Legiana, that's the cue that I hit it with the pod. And now, it's leaving. Basil Juice and the upcoming Devil Joe are notorious for invading a lot, so once you enter into high rank, you'll want to keep Dungpods on you at all times. They're also useful for multi-monster hunts, such as you'll find in events or optional quests. You don't need to bring extra dung to make more pods. 10 should be more than enough, unless if you're having a really bad time of it. Last but not least are Screamerpods. These are sort of the opposite of Flashpods. They force a submerged monster to surface. They also give you a minor pit trap effect, so you get a few moments to attack for free. These are mostly useful for Diablos and Black Diablos, so watch as I hit Diablos right after it submerges. Pop, which forces it back to the surface. It's important to know that Screamerpods won't work on Black Diablos if the monster is enraged, so watch for the flashing red eye. Okay, done with pods, so on to the Farcaster, which is your get-out-of-jail-free card, so to speak. If a monster is enraged, it will chase you great distances, so it can be hard to escape, and you can't fast travel while in combat. You can see what happens here if I try. Farcaster avoids this by immediately taking you out of combat and returning you to the nearest camp. Like so. So if you're in a heated battle and some extra monster or multiple extra monsters show up, you can use this to get out and reset the situation. You can only carry 1 at a time, but they're very useful in those really bad circumstances. Let's talk about bleeding, baby. You've encountered this if you've fought Odogaron. Bleeding can be dealt with a few ways. First, you can cure it by sheathing your weapon and crouching for a few seconds, like so. This works all the time, but there are better ways. Sushi fish scales are the best answer to bleeding effects. They'll cure your bleeding and give you a potion worth of healing at the same time. They tend to get overlooked since they're more effort to acquire, but if you have some, they're worth bringing along against Odogaron. Lastly, Astera Jerky will cure your bleeding without the healing and can be purchased at the stockpile. On the subject of fish, Wetfish fins are the most useful fish item. They're a whetstone that comes with Speed Sharpening 2 built in. Speed Sharpening reduces the number of swipes needed to finish sharpening your weapon by 1 swipe per skill level. So while a whetstone normally takes 4 swipes, a Wetfish fin takes only 2 to get the same effect. Pair a Wetfish fin with a single point of speed sharpening, and now you can sharpen in a single swipe. Since you can sharpen your weapon unsheathed in this game, this is definitely a useful item for any insect glaive or dual blade users out there. I'll link to a guide on where you can easily find Wetfish in the description. Next up is barrel bombs and sleep bombing. When a monster is asleep, the attack that wakes it up deals triple damage. This is true whether the sleep is from the monster being near death or sleep from weapon effects such as bow coatings. Barrel bombs deal a lot of damage, so if you want to wake a monster up with a bunch of barrel bombs, then you get a tremendous amount of damage from a few items. This is where the term sleep bombing comes from. Since a monster will usually sleep at least once per fight, it's always worth bringing these along. In multiplayer, if all 4 players put down 2 barrel bombs, you can get some very fast kills. The next 3 items, Max Potions, Herbal Medicine, and Nullberries, all use what I call the chomp animation. This animation is much faster than the drinking animation, so these items can really save you in a pinch. First up is the Max Potion, which fully heals you and maximizes your health bar. By maximizes, I mean the maximum it can go from items or food buffs. You can boost it even further with the health up skill. I bring these along for oh crap moments, those times where you need to be back at full health ASAP. They're also good for restoring your health after you've carted. Herbal Medicine is similar to sushi fish scales, but for poison, both curing it and healing you a bit. I don't think there's any reason to bring along antidotes when these are so easy to make, and they save you a ton of time when you get poisoned by either the environment or the monster. Nullberries cure Blight, which are all the various elemental weaknesses or status debuffs monsters can apply. They include things like Water Blight, which reduces your stamina recovery, Ice Blight, which increases your stamina consumption, and Effluvial Buildup, which reduces your max health. Various monsters can apply blights, from Giratotus and Legiana to the Elder Dragons at the end of the game. Nullberries are worth always having, since blights last a fair length of time and are a significant hindrance. Now let's get into attack and armor buff items. These items stack with your food buffs and are easy to make, so they should be included in all your item loadouts. Demon Drug and Armor Skin give you the smallest buff, but they last until you cart or finish the hunt. You can hold 3 of each, so they match up perfectly with the number of attempts you generally have for a hunt. Might Seed and Adamant Seed are the next tier of item, giving a stronger buff than the potions but only lasting 3 minutes. These stack on top of the potions, so a good strategy is to bring both, then eat a seed during lulls in the fight to refresh the buff. Next up is the Demon Powder and Hardshell Powder. These occupy the same buff slot as the seeds, so they do not stack. The powders give the same effect as a seed, but they affect your entire party. If you play multiplayer, it's worth bringing these along instead of seeds to help your entire group. Last are the Might Pill and Adamant Pill. These also occupy the same buff slot as the seeds and powders, so they do not stack. Pills give you the strongest buff, but they only last for 30 seconds. They are also the hardest to make, requiring significantly more resources than the other buff items. They're useful if you want to maximize your damage output during opportunities such as traps or knockdowns, but are not generally used outside of speedruns. And that's all for items. Leave questions and comments below, and if you found this useful, then please like and subscribe for more. Until next time, happy hunting!